Hi all, I'm Richard Sefton and this is my podcast State of Mind with me, Richard Sefton. Listen and subscribe. Also, if you could, type State of Mind with Richard Sefton into YouTube and subscribe there for your episodes and for some bonus material. In this age of technology, texts, messaging, WhatsApp, tweets, I feel it's important to sometimes reach out and actually have a conversation with someone sometimes. And so that's what I'm doing with this podcast. Some people you may know and some you may not, but people in general fascinate me, and today's guest is a real inspiration. Nicholas McCarthy is a motivational speaker and classical pianist. Born without a right hand, he was the first left-hand-only pianist to graduate from the Royal College of Music in London in its 130-year history. I first met and sung with Nicholas about 12 years back when I was part of a choir down in London, and I remember being transfixed by his skill, his speed, his talent. I'd like to know more about Nicholas, what challenges he has met along the way. Was he treated differently, and if so, how did this affect him? So Nicholas, how are you?
It's so lovely to chat to you, Richard, after all these years. Mm-hmm. When we were young, there's a song about that.
When we were young. Do you know that's the first song that ever made me cry the first time I listened to it? Just had me bawling. It still does.
I know. It's a classic. And it was basically written for us.
It was written for us when we were young. And I was
when we were young and you were in a choir and I was playing with you.
Well, you would, so to speak.
Like that,
so, you were just saying how you remember me being tall and slim. I never got to see you stood up because you were at the piano. So, how tall are you?
Well, yeah, everyone does think I'm just kind of 4 foot something. But no, I'm about you. I'm a little bit shorter than you, 5'11".
Oh, okay, so you're not tiny.
No, my other half. Contrary to popular belief,
you're not the piano
very short
size. My other half's 5'5", so I'm used to having people around my feet.
Yeah,
but not kids.
That's the annoying thing about being a pianist as well. Like when you're being interviewed, and if I'm on telly or something like that, you know, I'm always sat at a piano, which is just so annoying because it's not a particularly flattering way to, you know, be pictured or to be filmed or anything, because you're kind of sat there in front of something which you can't really lean on very well because otherwise you're going to, you know, play the keys and stuff. But it's just not a bit. I would just like to just be stood, really. Never mind.
But then you showcase this talent that takes people's minds away from anything else, any aesthetic that they're looking at on the TV. They hear this noise and see that you are an amazing pianist. You know, one hand or two hands, you are an amazing pianist.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Well, I mean, I hope so. I hope people enjoy it. People seem to enjoy it still, which is nice. You know, I've been going for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really have.
Yeah, and it's nice that it's still going strong. It's nice that people are still, you know, are still interested, still wanting to see me perform. And actually, it's funny how my career has kind of progressed over the years, really, because, you know, and again, COVID, I think for a lot of people kind of put a big exclamation mark in the middle of their kind of book of life, if you like.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it definitely gave me that chance to just kind of think, okay, well, let's treat this as a strategizing, you know, moment. Let's have a couple of quiet years, because, you know, I've been touring since I was in my 20s. So, you know, I've literally traveled the world and had a fantastic time. You know, worked with orchestras all over the place, worked with, you know, done solo tours and things all over the world. But it was just nice to kind of reap the rewards of all my hard work, really, and just to be, oh, this is my garden. You know, well, like, this is my house that I've owned for quite some time, and literally for some years I literally wasn't home, really. So you know, it was a really lovely moment for me and my husband to just to sit for a minute and just to kind of enjoy everything that we created, and then likewise to then pivot and to strategize for the future. And I basically said to my husband, who also manages me, I said, look, let's just have a quiet couple of years and let's just do almost like a comeback without me having gone away anywhere, you know, in 23-24 season, which we've done. So, you know, I've got my biggest concerts really, definitely in the UK, are happening in 2023 and 2024, which is so exciting that we, you know, it's all coming together as I kind of planned, you know, back in 2020.
But anything up in Chester?
In my head. Any up in Chester? No, but I am doing my Royal Liverpool Philharmonic debut.
Okay,
Not far from you.
that's not
You
far,
can
and
come to that.
I would absolutely. Do you know what date that is? Are you allowed to
No,
say?
not yet. I'll let you know. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it'll
please
be
let me know.
2024.
That would be amazing.
I will
So,
do, for sure.
how is it then having your having your husband managing you?
Well, I mean, he's been my manager for so many years now. I mean, at first, we didn't meet that way, so
No.
we were together, you know, first and foremost. And then I was travelling so much, you know, my career kind of exploded after 2012 when I was obviously performing at the Paralympics and all of the stuff that went with that. So then after that, it was, you know, being out of the country a lot. And I just didn't like I'm a bit of a homebody, really. And I just didn't like being out of the country on my own and, you know, playing a concert to a couple of thousand people and then coming off stage and it's just, you know, me to celebrate with. You know, it's just, it's kind of, you're on such a high and then you think like, oh God, if only my people back at home could have seen what's just happened, you know, it's amazing. And I just didn't really like doing it, you know, I just really was like, oh, this is bad. And so one time I was asked to do a tour of South Africa and a solo tour, and I managed to wangle Simon a ticket to come with. And we went together, and he just kind of morphed really into agent, you know, giving me that separation from my producer, and he's, you know, he's a very diplomatic person, much more than me. That's one thing that I am not, and he is, and that really works well for us, especially, you know, I need that separation from people asking me lots of questions and lots of different demands and things. He is that person. He just did it so naturally. So I said, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do this all the time? You know, we could tour the world together, see the world and do this, and it could be your job. And so we tried it, and it went really well, but it was hard because, you know, he had a salary and then he had to make the decision to leave that job in order to try to set up his own business. And of course that was tough, you know, for a while we kind of had no money, you know, it was just on me really. And then obviously it built, and then over the years it's become a success. But yeah, it was tricky at first, definitely. And also it's hard to try to separate personal life from work. You know, it's very easy to be at dinner or you know, having a drink of an evening, and then all of a sudden it just segues into contracts and segues into work stuff. And I think because I've always been self-employed and I've always worked I've never worked for anybody else ever. I think I'm quite good at my downtime, and I'm quite good at, no, I'm not working now. Whereas Simon had always had a salary and then a normal job, and then he set up his own business, and everything was on, you know, him and me essentially. And then I think he and probably still learning a little bit actually. It's me sometimes who has to put that boundary and say, no, we're not talking about contracts now. We're out for dinner, you know, and it will be me who kind of says that, just because I've never known anything else. You know, I've never had a normal job. I've never had a salary or a position where I leave the office and that's it until the next day, you know. So it's a learning curve, but yeah, it works very well for us now.
That's lovely.
Definitely had our fair share of rows right at the beginning. Absolutely.
They have to happen. We have to get them out of the way, don't we? It must be lovely then to just spend all the time together and be in a relationship where that works.
Yeah, it is, and I feel very fortunate. You know, like, especially when I'm doing, I don't know, like some tours are more difficult than others. Say, for instance, if I'm touring China, you know, China's huge. So I did, just before COVID, I did a 10-city tour of China. You know,
wow.
that's incredibly tough, because every single date is about a 4-hour flight between. You know, it's not like you're just going from city to city. You're going, you know, from province to province essentially. So it's huge, and that's really tough. And to be honest, I don't think I would do that without having my husband with me, really.
Do your feet touch the ground? Bloody hell.
Yeah, I know.
Did you get to see much of China as well?
Yes, I did. Because,
okay, that's good.
In between, there's nice kind of couple of days in each place that you can kind of go and be a tourist, really. And they're the nice things. And again, to do that together,
exactly. So if you were on your own, that would be less magical, I suppose. Less.
Well, absolutely. Like, let's take a selfie with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, people do. Plenty of people do. But I kind of get that. Obviously, I'm not playing massive venues and I'm not going around the world. But when I'm with my band and then we finish and you're on that massive high and you're driving home on your own with LBC on, thinking, where does this high go? Where does this adrenaline go? But when I've got, like, say my partner comes to see me or a friend comes to see me, we're having a laugh and we're enjoying the vibe that we've still got around us and stuff. And it's a much easier way of, it's like a cool down after a workout, I always think. Whereas
definitely, and a decompression.
Yeah. So you have that now, and that's so nice. And it sounds like you have a really healthy relationship as well, on top work relationship as well as relationship.
Yeah, we definitely do. I think for us, I mean, we've always been very good at communicating to each other when we're not happy with something, or, you know, I think that is the key to any successful relationship. I mean, we've been together 12 years now, and we've been married 3. So I would say we've got quite a good, you know, way of dealing with certain issues, which obviously are inevitable in any relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's a partnership, or a marriage. You know, you're always going to get difficult patches, difficult things. You know, it's not, life isn't all roses. And I think the main thing with that is that tackling communication head on, and that's always, you know, stood us in good stead.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, you mentioned that within that, then you mentioned that you performed with some giants of the music industry, Coldplay. You filled your life with such amazing moments. Do you have a favourite?
Oh, it's so difficult. Performing with Coldplay at the Paralympic closing ceremony in front of 86,000 people and half a million TV.
I was one of them.
You were one of them.
I was one of them watching.
It can't top it. You know, even the other day, I was in the co-op, Richard, and, you know, Strawberry Swing, which is the song that we performed, came on, and it brought tears to my eye because it just transported me back to being centre stage in front of that magical moment. And it wasn't just a magical moment for me, it was a magical moment for the whole country, because I think the Olympics and the Paralympics of 2012 really connected the entire UK. And I think everyone, you know, that summit, it was just such a connected environment, and it was almost fizzing with energy and atmosphere. So to be part of that and to be, you know, centre stage, and it was, I can't top that. So of course that's the top memory, and also I thank that moment really for my career being launched, because it was after that you know, I was invited to do all my solo tours, and all of my concert career started. And so again, that was a huge pivotal moment for me as a musician.
Apparently, I think the bass player from Coldplay lives just down the road from me in Mould. And one of the recording studios where we do some rehearsing with the band, apparently they recorded Yellow or something. I absolutely love Coldplay. I know they're like a Marmite band, but I don't understand how you could not like Coldplay. So that's amazing. So you've got a memory of performing with them, performing at the Paralympic Games, performing in this magical time when it might seem weird to people that have only been alive since, you know, after them, or aware of time after 2012. The country actually kind of loved each other, and we were actually kind to each other, and it was this big love explosion, and you were part of that. But just wow, and that also catapulted your career. So that's 2012 was a proper magical year then for you.
It was definitely kind of, you know, when people say, what was like your favourite year? And you're like, you know, definitely for me it's that year.
But you met me in 2010.
Well, apart from 2010, I always say to people, Richard, actually 2010, because I met this guy called Richard.
Do you know what's funny though?
Sitting down.
Exactly. And it's so funny because I only had to know you because you were just one. You had a big choir around you. So you were probably thinking, which one was he? Which one was Richard? You know, I know he was tall.
Yeah, I know he was tall, and he was lovely. So I have got a really annoying, and it is annoying, especially in my job, where I do meet a lot of people who have to be to my concerts and things, and then, you know, will say to me, oh, me and my husband came to see you back in 2011 in, you know, Cleethorpes Town Hall when I was playing. And do you remember? And it's like, well, of course I don't remember. But, you know, you're being nice and I'm so sweet to come see me again. So I'm like, yes, of course, I remember, you know. But for me, I do actually have a really good knack for remembering faces. So when you contacted me on Twitter, I didn't recognise your name. I instantly remembered your face.
Oh, that's nice.
So I definitely. So that showed you did stand out in that choir.
Yeah, and then I walked out of that choir not long after.
You sashay
I
out.
sashayed away. I really did. No, do you know what? I was a bit gutted for a little while because I really enjoyed being part of that choir. But then I moved up to Chester. I joined the Proud Marys, which is an LGBTQ plus choir. And it was amazing, and I realised that I'd missed my... Sorry, my watch is just going off to tell me that I've walked my amount of steps. I've not been moving for the last hour. I just don't know why it's doing that. But hey-ho. Yeah, so then I joined that choir, and it reminded me of my love for music, and I suppose meeting people like you along the way is it's just inspirational, isn't it? And it keeps that love alive, and the different types of music, the different diverse people that you meet along the way. My love for music isn't like one-sided or single vision. It's like I say, meeting people like you, they make it I don't know, explode. They make my love for music explode, and you just inspirational, I suppose. I hope that's not too sycophantic. That sounded really, really sickly, I know, but it just really is.
Well,
like,
what I'd like to say, just carry on, Richard, actually. Thank you. Just feel free. I'm coming on this podcast again just for you to tell me all lovely things.
Listen, you should hear my introduction for Beverly Knight, who is like my introduction for her was basically like, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, and here's Beverly Knight. It's basically that. Right, let's take you back. How was your childhood?
Childhood was lovely. I'm an only child. My parents are just normal. We come from a very normal background. Both parents hardworking, normal jobs. Nothing, no one's running Deutsche Bank or anything like that. So just came from a normal childhood, humble background. But we weren't on the breadline or anything. And had a really lovely childhood because I didn't start playing the piano till I was 14.
Yeah.
I had a whole childhood without music in my life because I come from a non-musical family. No one plays an instrument really in my family. I think my granddad played the accordion a little bit or something, but apart from, and he was an Irishman, so I think every Irishman plays an accordion in a pub somewhere.
I think so.
Whereas, so apart from him, really, it was a kind of a non-musical household, and so my first recollections of kind of being exposed to, especially classical music, was back when, like, driving around in the car with my mum, and she might put, I don't know, Classic FM on or something, and something would come on. And apart from that, I just had a normal childhood playing with my friends, and being out and about, and just having a nice time. And then obviously when I started to play the piano at 14, because it was my own choice, and I kind of decided this is what I wanted to do for my job. I was very dedicated to it, almost, sports person dedication, that, with training and stuff like that was almost my sport, essentially. So then I was extremely dedicated to the piano and, practicing long hours and doing everything I could in order to achieve what I'd set myself to achieve, which was becoming a concert pianist.
Were you aware of the challenges that you would meet, or the comments that you would get at that point, or did you?
Well, I think for me, and I always say this, I think teenage naivety played a huge part in my decision to even start to play the piano. Because when you're a teenager, obviously we remember it. It seems so easy to become an astronaut. It seems so easy to have multiple homes around the world. That it seems so easy to drive a Lamborghini. All of these things that everyone's got their own little thing that they used to want to be. But it all seems so easy because of that lovely innocence and that lovely thing called teenage naivety. And so I think with me, having that kind of anything is possible attitude, because that's the attitude I had being a teen, and I hadn't been worn down, yet by life or anything. Yeah. I was just very much like, it's easy. This is what I'm going to do, and I could see it. I could see it in my mind's eye. I could see me walking onto stage at like the Royal Albert Hall and stuff.
Which you have done.
Very natural, which I have done. It seems very clear, and it just seemed very clear and natural to me. Obviously, to the outside world, who perhaps weren't as naive and maybe open to stuff like that, then obviously they didn't see it that way, and I was greeted by huge amounts of challenge and huge amounts of negativity, which really, for the first time in my life, I always say this, and Simon, when I discuss it with my husband about various things or projects that we're doing, he always thinks that I was bullied as a child. I say I
From what you've told him?
bullied. From what I've told him in
Okay,
stories
yeah.
and things like that, and stuff my mum has said.
So the interpretation.
I always say that I wasn't bullied, because my thing with bullying, and I don't know who's right, but to me, bullying is systematic. It's someone who's creating a living hell for someone who's, it's every day. You're waking up, going to school, you're dreading going in because this one group or one person is going to do X and this. I didn't have that. What I did have was comments, of course. But Richard, did you have nothing did you have no comments? Because I don't know one person, whether you're the most popular person in your school, who didn't have the odd negative comment thrown your way.
I suppose there's an element of how it's received as well. If you're strong enough to cope with that, if it depends on your strength as well as the person receiving it. I suppose if you could going down that route.
I suppose so. Yeah. So I mean, in that sense, but so really, when I went out and when I started playing and trying to do competitions and learning, and my name was in kind of teaching circles, not publicly, was being thrown around a little bit. I was definitely treated with this whole, well, it's ridiculous. Why would he do such a thing? Oh God, how ridiculous! What's he doing here? What's the point? And again, we weren't having conversations around disability and inclusion and all of the conversations that we're having now. We really weren't having them then. You didn't see disabled people on television like you do now. You didn't have disabled presenters on TV like you do now. So it was really kind of, I wouldn't class myself as a trailblazer, but to be honest, I was, because there wasn't anyone else doing what I wanted to do.
Why wouldn't you class yourself as that?
Okay, darling. Well, I am a trailblazer. But
you should have a badge.
Yeah, I am a trailblazer.
Absolutely.
But but to be honest, yes, I was kind of going into the dark really, and just hoping for the best. And again, no one in my family or myself knew what we were doing, because no one had been to the junior department of a music college before to study, or no one had lessons with an eminent concert pianist teacher in London. No one had gone to the Royal College of Music or anything like that. So we didn't really know. We didn't know the pathways. We didn't know kind of what the things to do were, or the things to say. It was just a very and to be honest, me and Mum and Dad, we were complete fish out of water. Yeah, it was just a time where, and that I would say that was tough. That was hard. There were tears. There were lots of things. There was lots of questioning of me, and lots of questioning of, I kind of believed in myself and believed in my talent. And that's amazing how quick that can ebb away, self-belief, when you're being told from kind of 360 that, no, you can't.
You were actually told, weren't you, that you'd never succeed?
Oh, countless times. Yeah, countless times. And I mean, I was rehearsing last night with an orchestra in the Barbican, and I went to the Junior Guildhall School of Music and Drama, which is in the Barbican, and I went there, as a junior before I went to the Royal College, and I studied with a teacher there, and I remember coming out of my lessons and just being in tears, just so upset, because you'd work so hard all week, and you'd be greeted by someone who'd already made kind of a decision about you, already knew that already thought you weren't going to amount to anything. And we're very perceptive as humans, aren't we? And I could smell that from a mile off. I knew that she wasn't in my camp, and she didn't think that I would ever achieve it. And it was just kind of, oh, here he is again. Okay, what have you done this week, kind of thing. That's instantly not a nice place to be. It's the place, you're on the back foot, but I went back to the Barbican last night to rehearse, and it literally filled me with dread. I was walking around, and what the Barbican's like, where it's very, there's lots of hidden corridors and I just remember me as a 17-year-old walking through these, and I said when I got home last night, I got home quite late, I said, I think it's like a bit of PTSD going on around the Barbican. It really, I've never had it ever in my life. Where and again, I literally haven't been there since I left there, which I left when I was 18. So yeah, I haven't been there really since since I was 17, 18. And yeah, it was really weird. It was very strange and it wasn't pleasant. And I felt very, very disconcerted and very, I felt also very sad for kind of little Nicholas McCarthy, 17-year-old Nicholas McCarthy, who was literally just trying to not let these other people essentially, crush my dream. That's what 17-year-old Nicholas McCarthy was trying to do.
In a way that's nice though, giving a bit of attention to your younger self and giving it some thought, because not only did you have a different ability, you also had a different sexuality. Did that ever come into your teenage years as a negative, comments and stuff like that?
Of course, I've always had, the typical ones, shut up, you perf, or whatever, but from the straight lads in school. The good thing is I've always been funny, and I think, and I am very quick-witted, and I think that is it's such a shield and such an armor. If you can cut someone down and make his friends laugh at him, very quickly, it kind of dissipates things very quickly. And again, that was never systematic. It was always very a one-off kind of thing. And so, yeah, thankfully, it's kind of general homophobia that we've all experienced. But again, wasn't systematic, wasn't one person, and I used to cut them down to size very quickly, and so it would nip it in the bud, really. But again, being camp, I've always been camp, being the funny one, being that kind of person, and I just think that helps. I think if I was the quiet, shy person, but someone still got a whiff of, oh, he's gay. I think things would be very different. Things would be very different. That's where you see a lot, don't you? The systematic abuse, systematic bullying, etc. But yeah, thankfully for me, it didn't happen like that.
No, so yeah, again, inspirational. Just wow. I have to ask, in the introduction I gave you, I said that you were the first left-hand only pianist to graduate from the Royal College of Music. Has there been a right-hand only pianist?
No. So basically, I'm born the right way round. So I've got my left hand, and that is really, really, really handy for me. Look at that handy, excuse the pun. That is really handy for me because it is left hand alone repertoire. So basically, it started. I'll give you a really quick potted history. Feel free to edit it out if you need to, but it will be potted. But basically, concert pianists were like rock stars back in, say, the 19th century. I'm in the wrong century, sadly, but concert pianists were like rock stars. So they used to, their tours and their concerts would sell out just like, Adele does in like a few minutes. Yeah. And often with this kind of their adoring fans, in a way to kind of make their fans go mad, they would say, you thought I was good with two hands. Wait until you see what I can do with my weaker hand, which tends to be your left hand, because most people are right-handed, meaning your left hand tends to be slightly naturally weaker. So they would play this kind of little play on irony, look at this amazing stuff I can do with my left hand, and it would just send the crowd, wild. We fast forward in time to the First World War, and again, because most people are right-handed, you're more likely in a war situation to injure or lose your right limb versus your left, because you're using it more. So statistically, you're more likely to. And so, as we know, thousands of servicemen come back from the First World War with injuries, and a lot of the time injured right limbs, missing right limbs. And there was this one man named Paul Wittgenstein, who was a Viennese real socialite, really. He commissioned, using when he lost his right hand during battle, he came back to Vienna and used his position in society and his wealth to commission all of the real celebrity composers of the day, of the 20th century, to write left-hand alone pieces for him. So expanding this already present tradition from the 19th century of left-hand alone playing, expanding it hugely, but this time with the real hoi polloi of 20th century composition. So really, that's how. So it was very much left-hand alone and right-hand alone. There's a few pieces really, but there's really nothing much. As in, it would be very difficult to have a full career as a right-hand alone pianist. Whereas with a left-hand alone pianist, you've got huge piano concertos by some of the greats. You've got 3,000 works for left-hand alone solo. So there's a real career's worth there to do versus the right hand, sadly not. So luckily for me, I was born the right way around.
That's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. Wow. Do you class music as your work or your therapy or your play, or is it a bit of all of those things?
I love the piano. I actually don't listen to a lot of music. I'm a real one for silence. Which is the polar opposite to my husband, who's constantly got music on. I love silence. I don't work if I'm working on or writing something or doing something. I never ever have music on. I think it's because when I'm at the piano, that's all I'm hearing, and I'm concentrating, and it's real concentration for me. So I would class really. I love my job. I love what I do with regards to the piano. So I would class it as work. It's very rare that I get chance now to sit and just play and to sit and kind of I'll play this, or I remember doing that, I'll play that. Yeah, I just don't really get the chance to do that. So really it is work. I'm there learning new repertoire. I'm there having to look at next season and think, right, what's coming up, I better learn that, or I need to dig that out and learn this. So yeah, it is work. The part that I don't view as work is my motivational speaking career, which is again something I never went into purposely and kind of fell into that.
Yeah.
But that is something I absolutely love, because essentially I'm a communicator. Whether I'm communicating through music, whether I'm communicating through words or through writing, that's essentially what I try to do. And in that, what I love about my speaking work is obviously the piano's involved, my story's there, but it's usually because I'm speaking to an audience who would never ever have come to one of my concerts.
Yeah.
Most people are quite scared of classical music, really. So it's quite nice to speak to 1,000 CEOs in Dubai and have them kind of on their feet and applauding and finding me inspiration, but also finding my performance, having my performance touch them in some way. I love that, because I know I would never ever have been able to reach them, or they would never have been able to come, or wouldn't have come to one of my shows perhaps, in another area. So I really, it's a part of my life which I love, and I'm very fortunate to have that 50-50 with my performing career.
That's yeah. It is brilliant, and we've not really touched on that much because I'm fascinated by the music, obviously.
Obviously.
You said there that most people are scared of classical music. Is there a piece that reaches out that people seem to know more than other pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I think adverts play a big part, don't they?
Yes.
We've all heard, we've all heard certain pieces on adverts, and of course that that gets shown to millions of people, and it's repeatedly shown to millions of people. So people get an affinity with certain adverts. If you just think of the BA advert with the flower duet, or you think of
By the flower duet, I think I know which one you mean. Yeah.
And then you think of
I was going to whistle it, but that wouldn't sound good on a microphone.
yeah, us two doing a flower duet in whistle. That'll be a track on my latest album.
Can we do dueling banjos afterwards by whistling?
But yeah, so for me, of course, they're pieces where that I don't play, because I found earlier on in my career, when I got my first album deal, obviously controlled by the label. I was signed to Warner, so it was a major label, and they're quite controlling, and they wanted a certain repertoire on certain things, and I kind of felt a little bit inauthentic, and I feel that now I'm not with them. Thankfully, I'm looking. My next album's going to come out in 24, 25, and I'm so excited because it will just be my first where I'm just kind of, this is just me, and this is what I want to do, and I don't care if no one listens to it. I don't. It's just what I want to put out in an authentic way, and I think I've done the whole thing of kind of playing for people's ears, essentially, playing for they'll know that one, so let's do an arrangement of it, or they'll know that I've done that, and that's there for prosperity. It's obviously with streaming now, it's still there, and it's great, and I'm proud of the album, don't get me wrong, but I'm in a different time in my life. I'm not in my mid-20s, and I've got more of a voice and I've got more to say, and and so yeah, so I'm looking forward to my next one in a few years.
That sounds like an amazing place to be. So, did you have a favourite piece of music or favourite song that's maybe not classical?
I mean, I'm a bit like you, so I obviously love classical music, but I do listen. If I were to listen to music, I mean, when I go out with my friends or in a club, then I've always got my request. I mean, I love Amy Winehouse. I
met
really
her.
love
I met Amy Winehouse. That's my claim to fame.
not.
I did, but I was working in the police at the time, so it wasn't it wasn't the best way to meet her. But I got to spend 15 minutes just me and her chatting and having a laugh. Totally off her head, bless her.
Yeah, well, bless her, God bless her.
I know, and it made me feel like a connection when she went. It was like, oh no, I felt this. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. Anyone else?
I think I just love this songstresses. I love Adele. I love Amy. I love someone who's got a different, someone different. And as well, like with Adele, I preferred her earlier stuff to now. To be honest, I'm not as big a fan of hers as I was.
Me neither.
And most people,
unpopular opinion.
Well, I think a lot of people are saying the same thing.
Oh,
really,
good.
And I think she's changed as a person, as we all do. And I think you just go on journeys with different artists, don't you? And for me, I really like the early stuff. Likewise with Amy, I liked her first album, Frank, and then I wasn't so much into Back to Black. So, I think it's the songstresses with something different to say, and a different sound and everything. That's what draws me to them, and so yeah, that's kind of my go-to playlist, if you like.
So so your music taste is massively varied. If your Alexa was to be listening and just play a big stream of everything, would it?
It would, yeah, and actually, like when I've got people around or stuff like that, having dinner, I wouldn't really play classical. I love it, and I think it's my work, and I listen to it in a different way to perhaps other people do who aren't working in it. I'm listening for technicalities. I'm listening for I can't help it. It's my music kind of critical side comes out. Whereas obviously because I don't sing and I don't I'm not a pop star and I'm not Adele. I don't listen to that with any critique. I just listen to it, and do I like it? No, okay, turn it off. Or do I like it? Yeah, we'll save it. So that's basically my listen. But like I say, I really don't listen to music a lot at all.
No, see, I do. I'm with your partner on that one, with your husband on that one. I do use music a lot, but my Alexa knows only Spice Girls and Beverly Knight and Pink and very poppy sort of amazing songs that have lasted so many years, but very poppy. But then the odd occasion when I will be lying in the bath and I'll be like, play Pachelbel's Canon or something that I'm trying to get ideas for when I finally marry my partner. I'm like, play classical music, Alexa.
Yeah, and then you just need to find one and repeat. What was that? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're going down the route of classical arrangements of pop songs at the minute. My sister-in-law walked down the aisle last month too. It's Taylor Swift, and it's something like Wildest Dreams, and it was a classical arrangement of that, and it was absolutely beautiful, so beautiful. So we're going down that sort.
So there we go. That's the route you've got to keep on, Richard. When you're having your bath, get some nice cello versions of Wannabe, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, do you know, I didn't even think about that, but then I'm going to be the one stood at the blooming altar waiting for this, this other one to walk down playing the bride.
Are you engaged? I
am engaged, yeah. We've been.
I'm so excited.
We've been making inroads at the minute, and we've picked a venue and stuff like that. So we are getting there. Something that I never thought, really? Something that I always wanted but never thought would happen. Same with kids, but I don't think that is going to happen now. But something that I always wanted and never thought, and I may be getting a husband sooner or later.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I was engaged for 9 years, so I think an engagement is a nice place to be, and it's a nice kind of
So my Sam needs to stop moaning then 9 years. My Sam needs to stop moaning.
Yeah, how long have you been engaged?
We've been together for coming up 6 years. We got engaged. I don't remember the date. All I remember was it was the day that Harry and Meghan got married.
Okay. So that's what, two years.
However long ago that was, yeah.
So it's fine. That's a nice engagement. I think the whole jumping in and doing you get engaged and then 6 months later, some people really like to rush it through.
Yeah.
I think engagement is quite a nice moment to be in a partnership. I think it's you feel a little bit more connected than you did because there's like a promise there and there's a more kind of commitment.
Absolutely.
And a future, but it isn't quite there, and it's exciting. It's a nice time. So yeah,
it is.
Just don't do 9 years because people do stop asking. I mean, literally, part of the reason we did, I said,
9 years.
Like people just don't ask anymore. Like you go, when are you getting married? Where's your marriage?
Yeah.
Literally, we just didn't have any answers to these people. They just stopped asking. So then I said, and you know what happened? We got married in November 2019. And we nearly said, oh, we've waited this time. Shall we wait until 2020? And thank God we did.
Imagine if you had, you'd still be waiting. Well, no, you might have just got married now, finally. But bloody hell, yeah, that was. We've been through a major time that will be talked about in history and stuff. It's mad what we've just been through. It's like I started the podcast end of 2020, so we were still massively in the grips of it then. But I mean, I was speaking before about Beverly Knight and the episode that I did with her, which was my second episode, and we spoke about people in the arts. They were just not looked after, and they were just, everything kind of just shut down, didn't it? So for you, that must have been a horrendous time, or was it? Did you just sit back and enjoy it eventually?
I've always had I've always treated my industry as a business. It's called the music business or show business for a reason. And so I'm not one of these musicians who's just, heads in the clouds and just playing for the love of playing. It is a job to me as well. And I do like a certain way to live, Richard. So I've always been a planner. I've always been a saver. I'm quite...
caviar with your chips.
Exactly. You know the way. So I was very fortunate because all the planning and stuff. I've always planned for the fact that at some point, statistically, I'd injure my hand.
Oh wow, okay.
And wouldn't be able to play. And so with that, obviously, COVID hit. It stopped me playing. Yes, like my hand wasn't injured, but I wasn't able to play. And so that then my investments, my savings stuff kind of were there. And likewise with that, and thankfully not having all my eggs in one basket was just the piano and my speaking. My speaking career went through the roof in COVID. And I've got a purpose-built studio here where I'm speaking from now, in my house. And so that's what, I built the studio during, I think that was in the June. And then it was just so busy. I've given my biggest talks really in this studio remotely, which was just strange. But so I was very thankful. So even though I wasn't performing, and I did 2 online concerts, one for the Royal Albert Hall and one for Yamaha. And I hated doing those because I didn't like performing online. But apart from that, I was, I looked like I was quiet, but I wasn't. I was incredibly busy with talks. So yeah, I was very fortunate. I mean, I've had a few friends of mine who went bankrupt. I've had a few friends of mine. One of them lost their place where they live. There's some real casualties, financial casualties, and obviously with financial any pressure comes huge emotional pressure because the two go hand in hand. And so yeah, it was. I was just very fortunate, and I also thank myself for always kind of planning ahead a little bit, really.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, I turned my life around because of the pandemic, and I actually felt a bit guilty. Yeah, I suppose I did, watching people crumble around me and things. When you talk about things like the Royal Albert Hall and the Paralympics and stuff like that, did you ever get nervous? Do you still?
I still get nervous. I get nervous depending on what it is. So, for instance, like I've got my Royal Philharmonic Orchestra debut in 2024. I'll be incredibly nervous for that because, this is something I've worked up for years, and this is, really, one of the best orchestras of the world, and I'm soloist with them. So it's a huge amount of pressure. It's a huge honour to play with them. So yeah, I'll be nervous for that. Things like funny things that I don't get nervous for is, speaking to 6,000 people in a talk. I tend not to get too nervous about that. I don't know why. I think it's because it's easier to control your voice and to control what's coming out of your mouth, words, and how your voice sounds. I find that much easier to control in a nervous, pressurized environment than I do playing the piano, funnily enough. So I just think the nerves really are never really present with my talks. But I think it's important to have some nerves. That too many nerves can make you all fall apart, you see. So yeah, there needs to be a fine balance.
Do you ever get that thing of before you go on, think, I can't do this. I know that's nerves, but like severe nerves like that. Because I kind of get that a lot of every gigs. It's dead funny. But then I often talk about I'm going into a very male, macho, alpha male environment, and for me, that still has hangovers from when I was a teenager. So for me, that's where I think that comes from with me. But you're doing like massive. You can't even see the audience in some of the places. Does that help or hinder?
I find it help. I have had that before. I remember the last time it happened. I think it was in the 2019. It must have been 2019. I was doing a UK tour, and I was playing at Birmingham Town Hall, and I, for some reason, was incredibly nervous. I don't know why. And then I went on stage, and I didn't play. I didn't play my best. And I remember getting off stage. This is funny, a little funny story. I was it was the interval, and Simon came backstage, and he never comes backstage, you see, in the interval. But he did, because he knew that I wasn't playing. Most people wouldn't have known, but he knows that I wasn't playing my best. So he came and was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I can't do it. I'm not doing this. This is just ridiculous. I can't do it anymore. I'm not doing this. I can't, and I had a hissy fit basically about, I'm absolutely not. I'm just going to do my talks, and I'll have to do something else. I'm not putting myself through this, And at the same time, he then pointed to my lapel, and I had my lapel mic on, and that was going into the hall.
Oh my God.
So I basically
cringing for you.
The audience there in the interval who was getting up and probably saying, because like I said, I wasn't that bad. For me, I wasn't playing my best. So they were probably saying, "Oh, that was lovely, wasn't it?" And all of a sudden, my voice, "I'm not doing it, and I can't. And this is ridiculous. Why do I put myself through this? Why did I pick such a job? And stuff like that." And then it was all on the all being received out to the hall. Wasn't that a lovely moment to walk back on stage after the interval?
Wow. Did you acknowledge it? Did you say anything, or did you just?
No. I'm a big believer, Richard, in keeping quiet and just pretending that it all meant to happen.
Oh Jesus! This is like giving me Elton John vibes now. The diva moment.
Yeah, but I was being diva, but about myself, as in I am not. Who wants a left hand alone here? How ridiculous! What a stupid 14-year-old boy I was to go into, And I literally was like, no, never doing it again, never playing another concert again. And obviously I did, and I got over it very quickly. But that happened, and that was it was not pleasant moment really. As you know what it's like when you go on stage yourself. It's if you're in that mind space. It's incredibly tough to segue from that mind space to something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have lapel mics, and I don't have giant auditoriums at our gigs, but we have people sat on hay bales in the summer in these big festival things, which are amazing. They're the best ones, the outside ones. They're good.
Nice.
In the winter, it's all like pokey pubs. I shouldn't say that in case anyone's listening, but really nice but pokey pubs.
Really fabulous, smart,
amazing, beautiful. Everybody go and see live music at your local pubs, because I know of two. I found out two today that are closing down, and they were amazing pubs. So whilst I'm just thinking about it now, go to your local pub, support it, and especially if they've got live music on, go and support it, because it's needed, definitely. Anyway, end of that little bit. So are you the sort of person that has struggled with mental health, or are you the sort of person that it's never really touched, because you seem like a really strong person?
Yeah, I am a strong person, and I am pretty centered. I kind of lost my reason when I was at the Royal College, actually. So it's in my first year. I wasn't very well then. I had a very short spell of a deep, dark depression, which actually was really brought on by a minor eating disorder, to be honest. Um, and that obviously wasn't pleasant. And I moved home. I moved back from London to mum and dad. Still went to the Royal College, but I just commuted from where mum and dad lived there, because I was kind of going down and down, and I wasn't able to get out of it. So that was the only real time where I lost my reason and lost my compass, essentially, and lost my, because, as I said, I do feel quite a centered person, and I feel like any difficulty I'm able to navigate, which is, but at that time definitely I couldn't. And like I said, it was definitely because of the eating disorder that I had, and it was a side order of depression with it, really. And it sadly comes hand in hand.
Yeah, wow. So you were aware of your triggers there. You were aware of almost what to do to help yourself, and you did it by moving home.
Yeah, I kind mum and dad kind of told me I was moving. I was kind of forced to
Okay.
move home. But it was really the thing that needed to get sorted was my problems with my eating. Because I touched on it before before we were speaking, but
Yeah.
I've had it. I suppose it's not mental. Well, maybe it is. It's all connected, I suppose. But my struggle essentially is always to be about weight. It's always been my weight. At my biggest, I was 21 stone when I was 18. And then through an eating disorder, I lost 12 stone in a year, and
Wow. Good God.
literally transformed my body, so much as in people just didn't recognize me because it happened so quickly. And people thought I'd had surgery. People thought I'd had, all this stuff, which I just didn't. I just exercised twice a day and didn't eat. And then obviously now, I gained a lot of weight in COVID. I'm, the biggest I've been for years. Again, I'm at a different point of my life because, I'm not really devastatingly unhappy about it. Do you know? I mean, obviously, if I had a
Brilliant.
pill that could say, oh, let's go back to what, let's go back to what you were size weight. Of course, I'd take that pill instantly. But, my husband loves me. I think I kind of carry weight quite well. And I've been so many different sizes. You just have to Google image me, and you will see that. Oh, he's a bit bulky there. Oh, look at him, he's lovely there, lovely and skinny. Oh, he looks a bit gaunt there. Okay, oh no, he's fat as a house there. Literally, I've seen so many sizes in my time. It's ridiculous. And sadly, at the moment, I'm just this currently. The good thing is with it, I'm very fit. So I always say I'm fit, but I'm fat.
You mentioned the gym.
I'm fit, Yeah.
You mentioned the gym before we started recording, yeah.
Yeah, there's no health issues, which is lovely. Because obviously I'm a big believer. If you're not feeling right in yourself, you're not feeling healthy, you're not able to do certain things, then you need to obviously change things. I'm incredibly fit. But yeah, sadly, my body just does like being big, which is just so annoying and just really bloody annoying. But it is what it is.
You said that
and
you
at
like.
some point, Richard, I will be slim again. That's what I just know. I've done it so many times, so many times. It's just I just know. So I'm kind of at the stage where I'm thinking, oh God, there comes a point you need some form of acceptance. I know that I'm not going to be, this willowy person. And so really, I've accepted that. And now it's just about kind of getting in the mindset to just try and lose at least the weight that I put on in COVID, which, because I mean, with exercise, the amount of exercise I do, it just doesn't seem to touch the size. They do say you can't outrun a bad diet, don't they? I wouldn't say my diet's particularly bad. I just do like wine quite a lot, Richard.
See, I don't drink really. I drink every now and again, so I've got that. But I've just started spinning as well, which we also touched on before we pressed record. Spinning makes me feel amazing afterwards, but during and before, I fret about it so much. You said about your husband absolutely loves you the way that you are. What about you? Do you love you the way you are?
I don't. I I don't look in the mirror, and again, because I've been so many different sizes, I remember what
Physically
it's
and
like.
emotionally, and
Yeah, I don't look in the
personality.
mirror, and I don't look in the mirror and look and see disgust. No, I don't think, oh God, no, and I have done that in the past. I
Yeah.
have when I was when I was younger and kind of that late teen and had my eating problems and did used to look in the mirror and be absolutely disgusted by what I was seeing back. All to do with weight. Now I don't. I think, oh, you look all right. I'm not going to be on the cover of Men's Fitness anytime soon, but I don't look and think, oh God, why is your husband with you? I can see why he is. So I'm quite
I
content
like that.
really, and I think that's the problem. It's because I'm content there, and I've got love and a healthy marriage in all areas, and I don't have that kind of, oh, you need to change because this isn't. I feel quite good. The times where I don't feel good are if I've got something coming up publicly where I know it's going to be a little bit more bougie, a little bit more chic, a little bit more fashiony, and I I essentially need to just have clothes made for me, I think, because but I just never do, because going into high street shops, they're just not cut for my body. They just
Yeah.
don't fit me right. They just don't fit. Even if the size is there, there's lots of places that does plus size stuff now. Even if the size is there, um, it just doesn't cut. It doesn't fit me correctly. And so that's the only time where I feel frustrated. I wish I could be bloody 13 stone again or something, just because it's so much easier. Um, but even then, I remember I used to get my jackets altered and things like that because, again, my body shape. I'm very much a pear. I'm very much a pear shape. I've essentially got quite a womanly figure. I've got hips and a bum. And like Kim Kardashian, and like the male version of bloody Kim Kardashian in the derriere region. Which is, I don't mind it, nor does my husband,
Absolutely
but
brilliant.
that isn't, it isn't when it comes to buying a suit. That doesn't then work because you buy, and it doesn't really work well, even though I'm not grotesque by my body shape. It's a really funny thing. So, they're the moments where I do get, I suppose, frustrated and think, oh, for God's sakes, just bloody hell, let's just lose, 4 stone or something. And yeah, it's mainly because of clothes. That would be the reason.
Which says a lot about the fashion industry, really, doesn't it? How we're kind of shaped. Like, because me, I mean, and friends that I know that can walk into a shop, and some shops they can be a size, I don't know, 12, and in some shops they're a 16 or whatever, it's all different. And the amount of mental turmoil that I hear from friends after they've been shopping or before they go shopping. So there is this, maybe there's something that needs to be, well, it's been going on for years, isn't there? But there's definitely something that needs to be done if that's causing so much mental anguish, just because we need to put something on our bodies. It's
Yeah, I think
crazy.
as well, like it's mad. I was shopping the other day, and it's very rare actually. I go shopping because thankfully the likes of ASOS has ASOS plus size and things like that. And again, you'd look at me, Rich. You wouldn't think that I'm not on a Channel 5 documentary about to cut out of my own house. I'm just. I don't look that big. You know what I mean? Because I'm aware that you can't actually see me now, so I'm kind of describing this
We're having a
grab over
Zoom
house
call. We're
kind of,
having a Zoom call.
yeah,
Straight
exactly.
after this, I'm doing a Zoom call with.
Yeah, and I don't look horrific, but all I'm saying is that like Astos plus size, for instance, with men, that's fairly good. But again, some of the cut, and then again, that's why I want to wear Astos clothes to go to a nice event. No, I don't. So and things like going shopping with Simon, he's very slim, and always has been. He kind of puts on a pound, and it's after Christmas. And he eats everything. And my mum always said he's got hollow legs because he just eats and eats and eats and eats. And he cooks like, oh my God, I've gained half a pound. I'm like, half a pound? I've gained like a stone in like 3 weeks.
In the same
It all just
meal.
goes. It just goes, like one meal, Christmas Day. And I don't eat anywhere near the amount that Simon eats. But his dad's very slim, his granddad was very slim. But, even him, he goes into Zara, for instance. Oh, he's like, a large doesn't fit him on trousers, or whatever. And I'm thinking, but that's wrong. You're not a large or an extra large person. So why are you having to buy these guys? They don't even fit me. So why, I know I wouldn't even look. Whereas for him, I just think even that, I'm like, but you're not an extra large. Babe. Why are you having to buy it? It's just, so even that, it's all skewed, and it's bizarre. But like I said, I just need to obviously earn enough money that all my clothes can be made for me, or my bespoke body,
or start doing naked concerts.
Or naked concerts. Yeah.
Either
sell
or.
Lots of tickets or no tickets at all. It will either be an either or situation.
I think, there's a market out there. Make all the audience come naked as well. I'll come. Why not?
Oh, thanks, then. I'll pay you to come anyway.
I'll be front row and centre. You'll be taller than me then, unlike the last time when you were sat down. You'll be above me, so that's good. We've covered a lot of ground today, and again, I have to tell you that to me, you are an inspirational human being. I'm sure that many, many people think that, and there's got to be a part of you that knows that, surely.
Yes, obviously, I do realise that mainly due to the fact that people, it used to be, that just shows how long we've been doing it. It used to be letters. People used to send letters. And
what's a letter?
I know, what's a letter?
What is that? I kind of remember from history class.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's obviously just online, and it's much easier, and people do express their gratitude about me inspiring them in some way or shape or form, whatever, and they tell me, and that's lovely.
More instant as well.
It's more instant, and I think people get things off their chest very, if they're feeling an emotion, they can say it straight away, and it gets to me. So yeah, that is lovely. So I am aware that to some people I am an inspiration, and what I do has inspired them in some way. That makes me obviously a very happy man.
Must be amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm looking forward to 2024 already. And did you say 24, 23? You said 23, didn't you?
24. No, the real Liverpool feel is 24.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that already. Long way off, so maybe I'll come sooner if I can somewhere else. But
I might be slim, Richard. I might have lost 3 stone.
Well, I won't know who I'm looking for this
I'll
year.
let you know.
Might be,
or I've
but
lost that much weight that you won't see me.
This would be amazing. And with me doing the spinning classes, I might be falling down the same grid as you. So,
Yeah, exactly. I'll meet you there.
And then I'll have the legs to paddle through the horrible water as well, because I'm training my legs with spinning. It's great.
Training your legs, yeah.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win, and I feel like if and when I see you, it's going to be a good laugh, actually. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, thank you so much for joining me. And I look for... Oh, what have you got coming up? Plug it.
What have I got coming up? Well, I've got the London Gay Symphony Orchestra, which is next Sunday. But obviously this might not be out yet.
Where's that?
And in the bar, it's in the little church in the middle of the Barbican.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's Sunday the 16th of October. And then I'm quiet-ish with performing. I've got obviously some speaking engagements and things. And then I'm off to Hong Kong next year, very early next year, with the Hong Kong Festival. So I'm excited about that. And nice things coming up. Lots of orchestra stuff. And again, but like I said, my main stuff comes in 23, 24.
Amazing.
I'm looking forward to that. So I'll keep you posted anyway, Richard.
Maybe I should keep hold of this episode until a bit later on.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Keep it till my album's out. And I might just say, and my new album. I'm going to have a gap now. And my new album.
Blank. Talking to Richard. Songs about Richard.
I I can re-record the title for you, and there we go. We've got it.
Absolutely, but I want my name in there at some point in the album, just if we're doing that. But hey ho,
It's going to happen. Well, we've got our whistling duet to do. So.
yes, absolutely. I do. Oh no, I won't go into that now. I do whistle in one of the songs that we do, the Fratellis, I think it is. Yeah. Let's not go into that now. Take care, and I will hopefully speak to you soon. Well, I'll speak to you as soon as I've stopped this recording. But
I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for having me, Richard.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.